Can I use photography as a projective technique? Hi, I'm Louise Fouché from OTGrow and welcome to our YouTube channel. Here we discuss tools, tips, and techniques so that you can become an effective group facilitator. So I had a very interesting question. So you are maybe aware that we've got Q&As that we have 4 times a year and people bring their questions along. But this was a question that I actually got from somebody who attended our projective techniques workshop. And her question was, can I use photography as a projective technique? And I thought you might be interested to hear how I answered that question, because there are some principles in answering that question that can apply to any activity that you may think of. So, what was important here is to first decide what is the goal that you want to achieve. So, as the person described a bit more about how they thought of using the photography, they used words like creative expression, or can it be used as an emotional, expressive technique, or can it be used as a projective technique? And the idea was that the group members were given or take their cell phones and go outside in the garden and take different photos. And how could she incorporate that, the therapist, within the groups? So the first thing to remember is what we do is we always start with a goal. So not with the activity that was asked here, it's what do we want to achieve? Because what we want to achieve if we're using this, taking photos for creative expression, is going to be very different than if we use it for just expressive technique or if we're going to use it as projective technique. And I thought I would explain or show to you how we go about using this. So, if we say creative expression, and it's more about creativity and living yourself out a bit, expressing yourself in terms of a creative element, then my instructions and how I present the activity is got to make sure that I meet the goal. So I might have instructions that say, take your cell phones and I want you to go out in the garden and I want you to either zoom in very close on certain elements or far or get kind of maybe a sun ray reflected on something. I want you to try and see all the creative ways or expressions that you can capture, moments that you can capture on your phones. And maybe I want to take it further and say, now take all these elements and you can print them or cut them out or electronically put them on some type of collage to just creatively, to be creative and express yourself. And so the emphasis is around creativity and how they want to put all these different elements that they've seen together in a creative way. So, can you hear how the instructions are given? If I want to use this as an expressive technique, and as an expressive technique, we see that as emotionally, I want to find ways or means to be able to express what is going on inside of me emotionally. And so, expressive techniques, what becomes really important is the instructions that I give and how I present it means I'm not going to go into depth of the analysis because it's not projective, it's just really expressive. And then I might say to my clients, go out in the garden with your cell phones, and I want you to take photos that is going to express how you are feeling today. And now they're going to be looking at different eyes to the garden. They're going to be capturing different moments because my goal is different. So, for instance, somebody might say, well, the sun coming through the clouds, that's really good. Or I'm going to take a photo of a spider catching a fly because I feel constricted. And then as they explain the different photos that are taken, they are going to be able to find words to express what is happening inside of them and how they're feeling. And maybe you can encourage them to put emotion words to what is it. So I'm feeling strangulated, I'm feeling trapped, I'm feeling constricted, emotionally. Those are the things that are coming up for me at the moment. And so, and then we leave it at that because it's an expressive technique, expressive goal I wanted to obtain. If I'm going to go projective techniques, now again, listen, the projective techniques, often our goal is to improve self-awareness. And if we're going to be using projective techniques, it means we've got to take elements of the unconscious and bring it to the conscious. So there are different ways we can do that. One of the ways is you as therapist go and you take a whole lot of photos and you give it to the group, and they have to choose a photo that resonates the most with them. And there's a wide variety. They are randomly taken, but we know that whatever is in the person who picks that photo, there's something in the unconscious that wants to come up, and that will be projected into the random photos you've taken. Another way is to say to your group members, well, go out in the garden with your phones and go and take random photos, 5 random photos, and bring them back. And maybe you want to then add another element of projective techniques. I want you to take these 5 photos, and I now want you to write a story around it. So which photo comes first, and then what happened, and then the next, and then the next. And you can even guide it and say every story has got, there's a problem, and then there's a way to resolve the problem, and a kind of a climax to the story, and then it is shown how it's resolved. So I want you to take these photos and I want you to tell me the story, knowing that they are then projecting their self and their own story, and possibly a way that they can resolve their own problem through the storytelling. But what's important with projective techniques is we've got to have an element where people can kind of reflect and analyze and have introspection on what are these photos, and some connection in terms of these are saying something about me, and what is it saying about me, and becoming more aware of those elements. In other words, we are definitely making sure that the unconscious is made conscious through the projection of either the story or the photos or whatever. So I'm hoping, even though this might have been quite a long video compared to some of the others, that you can see that how I go about planning my group is not just about the activity. It always starts first with my goal. Then I choose my activity, and then I have to think, how am I going to use my activity? What instructions am I going to use? What presentation? How am I going to ensure that this activity meets the goal that I want? All right, so maybe in the coming week, you can have a look and just consciously go through those steps as you prepare each one of your groups. Start with a goal, then your activity. How am I going to present the activity, give the instructions to meet my goal? All right, and in the meantime, till next week, happy facilitating.